All right, people, here we go. Guess what? Great news. I'm back. Probably missed me, right? I was gone for a while on some vacation. The human has returned. Um,
Were
so
you
this
gone?
is
I,
what?
I missed that. When were you gone? So does that mean Luke? Who were we talking to then? That's awkward. All right, well, welcome back, man.
I was just like a ghost. You just wanted me to be there.
I just kept saying, John, what do you think? Oh, a little quiet today. Okay, moving on.
It's like weird. You don't have any opinion. Well, this is This Week in Cassandra, and we are actually talking about things that are happening this week, which is pretty cool. What do we got with us here? We have Zhui Hai, we've got Luke Tillman, Patrick McFadden. We also have Jeff Carpenter joining us from Choice Hotels, who is the author of an O'Reilly Cassandra book that we're going to be talking about today, the definitive guide for Cassandra, which is pretty cool. You may know that there's one that was out for a really, really long time, totally outdated. Don't read it. Go with this one. So we'll be talking to Jeff about that for the second half. But before we get into that, let's talk about what's new this week. There's a whole bunch of Cassandra releases that just come out, which is pretty awesome. They're all bug fix releases. But there's one thing that I'd like to touch on in here in the 3.0 release, and this is a big one. We had Jeff Jersa on a little while ago to talk about this. Time window compaction strategy is finally replacing date-tiered compaction strategy. So this is a pretty big deal. And time windows just offers fewer knobs to turn. It's same defaults out of the box, and it turns out a lot of people are already using this in production. So if you're thinking about going to 3.0 and this was kind of your hang-up, this is a good time to start thinking about maybe moving into 3.0. So, you guys, anything else am I missing in the 3.0 in the three releases that were just put out?
One other thing we might want to throw out there as far as new releases go, there's a link on the blog post to the Python driver just got a new release as well, and they kind of rolled out this new feature. Jeff mentioned it when we were talking before we came on the air here, called execution profiles, which is kind of like a new experimental thing, which is super interesting, kind of a way to group settings, configuration settings that you might want to run. So your default consistency level and your default retry policy and that kind of stuff, and then use those to execute statements in your code. So kind of an interesting new feature. I know they've been kicking it around. Like I've been following the Jira and the C# driver. They've been kicking around how to implement it there, and I imagine it's coming in the Java driver as well. So definitely check that out. It's kind of a new experimental feature that we're interested in getting some feedback on for sure. So check that out if you get a chance.
I think what's also interesting is that Luke is now usurping me as the Python guy.
That happened. I just saw it happen.
Yeah, Luke's like, hey, good news about the Python driver. Why don't we just talk about that for a little bit? And I'm like, what happened? What happened here?
You got pwned. That's what happened.
Yeah, all of a sudden I'm going to be talking about the Java driver, or maybe I'll be talking about a different driver, maybe the Rust driver, which I'm actually looking for help on.
Yeah. Well, these execution profiles, Luke, so would you say that this is just a way to keep developers from getting wrapped around the configuration axle, so to speak?
Yeah, it sounds like really the idea is there's so many configuration options with the driver, and it's only getting more and more, they keep adding more configurations, and so this is kind of just a nice way to group configurations together and kind of make your experience as a developer easier. You kind of have one place where you can manage the profile and then reuse it. So if you got to go change, say maybe the consistency level you're using for writes, and you don't have to go change it in 25 places in your code. You go to one place where you created the profile and go change it there and have it propagate down. So kind of just a nice feature for developers, make your life easier.
I think that's awesome. I mean, as I work with developers, sometimes I'll show them some obscure setting like whitelisting and things like that, and they're just, I had no idea that was buried in there. And there's so many. It's becoming SendMail-ish. with all the configuration. But it's
A
important.
question:
Uh-oh.
does it apply also for the SQL engine? This execution profile?
I don't know if they integrated it with the mapper component yet, but that would definitely be. It's probably in this blog post.
I would like to know about that.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it would be nice to integrate.
John, I think
with
you should know
mapper.
about that.
You'd think I would.
You should know about that. Yeah.
Well, Luke's the guy now, so I just don't need to worry about these things
The
anymore.
torch has been handed. You're out. Good luck.
I need a new language, apparently. I would be... So the interesting thing about the CQL engine is that the original way that we wrote it was you effectively passed all your parameters in to begin with, so you effectively got one profile, and then that was it. Like there was no point at which you would like change. I mean, you could change consistency level and things like that on a per query basis. So I don't see any reason why you couldn't pass in like user.objects.profile.get or whatever, and get back a single object with like a profile that was tuned for consistency level 1 with, or serial. Serial might be the better one, because if you're like, oh, I want to make sure I have, I'm using LWT to do writes, so I also want to use serial to do reads, so I'm not like getting a half committed thing. I could see that being, really useful, but I don't know if it's there. So that will be.
Yeah, none of the examples in the blog post show mapper code, so I don't know. Find out.
Let's assume probably not.
Yes. All right. So I think this is going to be one of those to be determined. Thanks, Luke, for opening the door and leaving it wide open.
Yeah. Let me just put this out there and, just leave it as a question for next week. We'll follow it up.
Completely ambiguous. Good luck figuring it out.
Hey, it's named as an experimental feature. What do you want from me?
Yeah. I want answers, Luke. I want you to be thorough. Well, so the other thing, in all seriousness, I mentioned the Rust driver, and I actually in the show notes we've got a link for this tweet that Patrick put out. If you can retweet this thing, like, it would be really helpful. We're looking for someone to figure out what is broken with the Rust driver, and right now the Rust driver is a community maintained driver that wraps the C driver. And unfortunately, it just horrifically segfaults if you're using a Mac, and I have no idea why it's doing it, and it's actually beyond my understanding right now. So until I invest more time in the Rust side of things and the C and how the bindings actually work and what's going on in there, it may remain totally broken. So we need the help. Community needs help.
Jeff, I'm going to ask you, man. So anybody at Choice Hotels using Rust yet? Jeff Carpenter, that is for you, sir. Uh-oh. Did we lose Jeff? He's not listening. All right.
Or he's just like a blinking animated GIF. That would be...
Jeff, did you hear the question? No, he's a...
No, can you repeat?
Oh,
There we go.
All right, there we go. So I was asking you, is there anyone at Choice Hotels using Rust right now?
No. We're pretty much all Java right now.
He's like, I can definitively tell you that nobody is using it.
And it's a
all.
fireable offense.
It's not on the list.
Bummer, man.
Yeah.
Want to
right,
see some Rust.
So I tweeted that because I was just listening to you rant, which is kind of a common occurrence, but it seemed like it was a little more heartfelt. Like you and I were talking yesterday about it's a new language and it's got a lot of rough edges, and this is one of them.
Yeah. It's just it's difficult because getting support for database drivers and these libraries that allow you to actually like do things that are useful. It's like database drivers and like web frameworks and all the middleware fun that you want in a language. Like if you're looking at building really high performance, massively scalable systems, Rust is looking like a really, really viable alternative, especially with all the safety checks built in at compile time. And I would just love to see really solid Cassandra support in there. So that was why I was looking at it. So yeah, if anyone can retweet that or help fix that bug, I think it would be really, really cool. All right, well, moving on. I won't beat the dead horse of my anger with the Rust situation. We have something that, Patrick, I know is near and dear to your heart, cloud-native deployments of Cassandra using Kubernetes. You're Google fan #1, hence the shirt. So why don't you give us a little backstory on this, buddy?
What is the backstory? So the Kubernetes thing is pretty interesting. It's like any of these orchestration frameworks that are vying for #1. You have Mesos, Kubernetes, now Docker Swarm. Who knows what's next? But it is the thing. I mean, when we're coming around to this cloud world and containers, etc. Kubernetes, Mesos, Docker Swarm, they're about deploying a lot of something and controlling all the aspects of it. And so this blog post on Kubernetes, or it's not really a blog post, it's a README, but it's pretty new, and there was a blog post involved with it. This is the guys at Kubernetes trying to deploy a massive cluster. So just recently they released a bit about putting out a 1,000-node cluster with Kubernetes, which I think is pretty epic. 1,000-node deployment. There you go. That's a high watermark. That's a good one. If you need more than that, then you should call. But I've worked with these guys a bit. There's some really interesting stuff happening in this project, especially with seed nodes and how it manages infrastructure coming and going. That's probably one of the big challenges is as you're deploying in the cloud or using something like Kubernetes, you potentially have nodes that can disappear on you, and the framework is built around this idea of bringing it back to life. Like if you have a state that you're trying to attain, a 1,000-node cluster, and one disappears, it's going to try to reattain that state. It says, no, there has to be 1,000 of these. And this blog or this README is really how do you deploy Cassandra using Kubernetes effectively.
Now, is that the type of thing that's configurable in there, or is it like, hey, a server disappeared for 3 seconds due to like a very, very small network partition, or let's say, I don't have any Google Cloud experience. All mine's on Amazon. You could have a situation where you'd have a network partition between availability zones, and in your 1,000-node cluster, you lose a third of them, right? Is it going to just all of a sudden take that 3 seconds of I can't talk to the other machines and provision 300 new machines, or is it smart enough to not do that horrible thing?
Well, anytime you use an orchestration framework like this, I always tell people do not let it do anything automatically, and it should make you aware of the state, and then you should push the button to reattain that state. Mm-hmm. And for just those reasons, we haven't gotten to the point where we have AI running our infrastructure. It's not aware of things. So partitions are a great example, right? A data center can see another data center. You don't know how long that's going to be. One of the things you don't want is that if, let's say, you have 500 nodes in one data center and 500 nodes in another, and there's a partition event, that they both think, oh no, I'm missing half my cluster, and spin up 500 nodes each.
Yeah.
That's just completely pathological behavior. You do not want that.
Yeah, that'd be tragic.
Tragic, because you would have a lot of nodes that mean nothing to you anymore. Yeah. That's a lot of money, too.
It is. Yeah, it's pretty much a broken cluster at that point.
Yeah, even auto-scaling groups, the ASGs and Amazon, I never really got comfortable with ASGs working, totally automatically.
Never for the database.
Never for the database, yeah. And even for web servers, bad things can happen. You get DDoS, and all of a sudden you have 1,000 Nginx servers running. Mm-hmm. You have to define boundaries, but this is more of a state management. So you say, oh, this is not the state I want. Go and do the state that I want, and instead of just having it automatically take care of it.
Yep. Right on.
Yeah.
Anything from you guys? Any thoughts on this, Luke? Should we hide? Luke's
Nada.
Don't have a thought.
I don't like to deploy lots of infrastructure.
I'm not the ops guy, but I mean, I have been playing a lot with Docker containers lately. But I don't know. I don't really have a comment.
Looks like
This looks like it would be fun, yeah, to play around with. But I'm playing with like one container at a time, not 1,000.
Yep.
So.
All right.
Let's just bring Google to its knees. I'm gonna deploy the biggest cluster Google can never handle.
Okay. Well, I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
Why don't we move on? Second half. Guess what? We got Jeff Carpenter hanging out. No video, unfortunately. But that's okay. He's still with us, I hope. Jeff,
Are you
there?
with us, Jeff?
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome. All right, hard-hitting questions. Are you ready? Why did you write a new book? Let's start with that one. Hopefully we get some volume.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about the new book. As John was saying before, there was this Cassandra, the definitive guide, out there since 2010, and it's really well written, I think, that first edition, but it was obsolete because, it was written against 0.6, and then Eben rewrote it against 0.7 because things were changing so fast, and you can even find things about 0.8. So it's really old. It's all about column families and super column families, and since then we have secondary indexes, we have materialized views, we have lightweight transactions. Now we have SASE indexes. So everything has changed so much. It was pretty close to a total rewrite of the book, which I was super fortunate to be given the privilege of doing. Eben is my boss at Choice Hotels. He's our chief technology officer, and I definitely saw people come.
I think we may have lost you.
Cut out again.
Cut out. No.
This book, I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
You're
book
back.
Was really
we heard, I think we heard that Evan's your boss.
Yeah, and he's the CTO at Choice Hotels.
Yeah. And he, people have said to him, "Hey, this book helped me get my job. I learned Cassandra, and this helped me get a new job." So I thought, wow, I mean, if I have the opportunity to help do that and help do something that will really impact people, that's what I want to do. So, I wasn't a Cassandra expert when I started writing, but the great thing was I had to learn everything so that I could write about it. Yep. So I'd be at home writing on the weekends, and I would learn things about level compaction strategy, or hey, I didn't realize that node tool TP stats gives me things that I can actually use and plug into our monitoring. So I was learning things all the time and then bringing them into work as we were going through our growing pains at Choice, started to use Cassandra. So it was a kind of a mutually edifying exercise.
Very cool. All right, yeah, the 0.6 information not generally useful today. You got to actually. I would say almost 0 words in that book would be helpful if you were starting.
The conversations I had with O'Reilly early on were that it's actually criminal that you still sell this.
Yeah,
it's creating harm.
Yeah.
So Jeff, what version of Cassandra did you end in the book?
I'm on the 3.0 series, so I've run programs. I think I know for sure that I ran things against 3.0. I don't know the minor version number, but I could look it up. So it's quite current, and I've been tracking. The book also has I mentioned some of the features that have come in since 3.0, like the SASE indexes, for example. So
just read my blog post.
Yeah.
I knew the minute that it went to press, it would start becoming obsolete. So I tried to cram everything in at the last minute that I could and just set it free.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can do. But you have to make sure and keep up with your editions every year now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the plan.
Yeah, that is the plan.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to keep a book up to date when you've got new features like rolling out every 2 months. Um,
So Jeff, let me ask you this question. So you kind of had to learn along the way. Actually, you did learn along the way. And when I first met you in October, you kind of had that wild look in your eye, like, oh boy. So what was the most surprising thing you learned about Cassandra along the way?
I think you cannot stress the importance of the data model enough. As many times as you think you have it right, it's just when you get it into production and you get it at scale, you learn things. That's the only way that you're going to learn. So there's major components of our data model that we're on the 3rd generation of the schema, and that's okay.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that a lot, including my own experience. It was it's tough to nail that down exactly right because you always forget about like one thing or the product changes. I find, and all of a sudden you're like, oh great, I gotta change these few things. Hopefully, materialized views makes that a little bit easier to deal with.
So yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's definitely on our roadmap. I would like to get there as quickly as possible. So we're on 2.2 right now, looking to get to 3.0 as quickly as we can get there.
Right on.
One other question along kind of follow up along that is, what's something that you wish Cassandra could do, or what feature is missing? Do you feel after you've dug into every dark corner of Cassandra? So what do you think is missing?
Well, it's funny because I love Cassandra, so I'm a major advocate for it within our organization. So I kind of love it for what it is and know for what it is. The complaints that I get all the time is I can't do a join. What do you mean? If I want this data, I have to put it in my table, and I say, well, that's what Spark is for, and we really need to build up that side of our game. And use complementary tools where they make sense. So I think and I love what you guys are doing to package those things together and really provide an offering that is that integrated tool set. Use the right tool for the right job. But that's what I hear the most is I have data spread across multiple tables, and how do I do a join?
Hey Jeff, I'm curious, when you were like kind of learning and whatnot, what was the thing, or is there anything that jumps out as like the most difficult to kind of wrap your brain around, as you were kind of digging into Cassandra and how it works?
I think there's all kinds of little surprises. I think as great as the DataStax documentation is, there are some things that you can still only learn by going down into the source code. So, there was a blog post, even a couple weeks ago where I was like, what do you mean there's only one ring? I thought there was a separate token ring in every data center. And that was Luke's blog post. And I was like, how is it that I'm still learning things like this, 2 years into it?
Well, actually,
plug.
I had the same. I faced the same issue as you with this tokering stuff. I need to read the source code to understand how all the token range are split across multiple data centers. And by the way, how big is your book, Jeff? How many pages?
It's a very lightweight 370.
Wow.
Yeah, it took a year, unfortunately.
So you cover all the from data modeling until operation, right?
Yes. It's for developers. It's for operations. It's for if you want to understand what's going on under the hood. It's all there.
Awesome. And it's out now, right? You can go buy it today.
You can get the digital right now. You can get it on Kindle and the digital in the O'Reilly shop. I'm told the print copies should start showing up next week.
Very cool.
Cool.
So the line is going to form in front of your favorite bookseller probably Wednesday?
Yeah, expect lots of camping out.
Yeah, lots of lines. Jeff, are you going to be doing a book signing at Summit?
Sure, why not?
I think I
Do
just
it.
put you on the spot.
I
Do
think
it.
you just signed me up for that. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think it'd be great. I think
it's happening.
you know, we have some good authors out there. It would be great to have like a little book signing, and you know, like Robbie Strickland has a pretty good book on high performance Cassandra. So I think it would be great to have you guys there because I mentioned this to you and a few others that you know what you're doing is a part of the Cassandra community. Yes, this is a commercial book, and this is, you know, an O'Reilly publisher, but this is something. Let's face it, this is not something you're making a lot of money doing. This is a labor of love, and you're doing a great service for the community because it's true. I mean, people love to have books on their desk when they're doing stuff, and or a PDF that they can search and look through. It's just that referenceable material. So
Yeah. No, that's totally right.
I have to
The
thank you
videos
personally
are
for
so
that.
awesome. Oh, no, thanks. You know, I love the videos, the DataStax Academy. That stuff is so great. You know, the online documentation that you guys have. You know, I learned a ton from that. But I'll tell you, I have a coworker that said, "Yeah, I tried watching those videos. I just can't. It doesn't do anything for me. I need to sit down and read something." So it's like there's so many different ways to learn. You know, go look at the Killer Video app and read the code. Watch a video, read a blog post, read a book. It all works.
We have a new way as well. I would just like to mention. Docs are now going in tree. So when you get Cassandra, you will have HTML docs as part of the thing, which are being maintained by developers and, you know, me occasionally.
Okay.
And hopefully everyone else listening. It's a team effort.
Yeah, we need some love.
Love. I think that'll be something we highlight later. And that'll be the nice in-between snack between versions of Definitive Guide.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, having something professionally written, edited, diagrams, all that, I think will never be something that, you know, we don't want. That's always going to be useful. So.
Yeah, and this is the funny thing is I don't know how many times O'Reilly came to me and says, "Do you know anyone that could rewrite this book?" And that's been for the last 4 years I've heard that. So Jeff, I have to say thank you for just so I don't have to hear that again.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, Jeff,
No
thanks a lot.
problem.
Yeah.
All right. I think we can wrap this up, right? Unless you guys have anything else?
Nope.
No. Very cool. Yeah, Jeff, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. It was great talking to you. I think that's it. Let's shut it down.
Thanks, guys.